Hello and welcome to this session. This is session 6 of Unit 6, Public Sector Procurement. In this section, we'll be looking at disposal of public assets and public sector stores management. Over the few sessions, we've looked at public procurement in Ghana, the rules and then the structure and also the methods of procurement in Ghana. So by the end of this session, we would be able to explain the disposal process for public assets and also discuss the various approaches to public sector stores management. So disposal of public assets is basically the methods in which the public sector entities use to reorganize these assets from their records, or how they tend to lay off some of these assets which they do not use again. So that's basically disposal, to sell off the asset or to give off the asset to other parties who may be in need of this asset. Right. So disposal is the process of reorganizing the value of an asset and the assets from the records of the entity. Right. So in stores management, an asset may be reorganized, right, by an entity when that asset is deemed unserviceable, obsolete, or it is surplus to need, right? So when we are saying something is unserviceable, then we are saying that particular asset cannot be used for the intended purposes in its present condition due to major defect or damage, right? And an asset then becomes obsolete if it is no more capable of meeting the demands of current development, or it is incompatible with the current demand, right? And then an asset becomes surplus to need when that particular asset has not been used for a period in excess of 2 years, right? So this is a situation whereby we consider an asset to be unserviceable, obsolete, or surplus. So when such things happen, these assets are then considered for disposal by the public sector entity, right? So what is the process for the disposal of stores, vehicles, plant and equipment? We are saying that the head of the procurement entity convenes a board of servitors. Before this particular disposal can take place, there need to be an establishment of the board. That's the board of servitors. They shall report on the items and subject to technical report on them, like they give recommendation as whether this particular asset should be and needs to be disposed or not. So the head of the procurement entity shall approve the recommendation which the board of survey makes. Then after that, we are saying then the disposal can actually take place. So we can then consider some of the disposal methods in the public sector. The very first one is the transfer to government departments or other public entities. So this one mostly occurs when the asset is not damaged to the extent that cannot be used. So mostly assets which are surplus to need in a particular entity may be needful in another entity. So such assets are transferred to these other public entities to be used. And also assets which may be obsolete in some department or some agencies may be needful in other agencies. So in such situations, they transfer these assets to these other entities. So we are saying applicable if assets can be deployed by another procurement entity. The next method is the sale by tender. So here there is a tender, or they make advertisement for people to come in with bids to take up this particular asset. So this particular one is done for the entire public to make bids for such tenders. So we are saying this one is applicable where the estimated value of the asset is of sufficient value. So the asset is not bought, but then it is not needed in any other public sector entity. So then we have to make it available for the public. Maybe there is somebody who needs such an asset, and the asset is of value that we cannot destroy or dump it. Right? And then we are saying it is applicable where a number of separate lots of lower estimated value assets may be included in a single public tender, and also for the reason of transparency. The other method of procurement is through public auction. So the procurement entity may engage in public auction when the items involved have a value of less than 500,000 Ghana cedi. Then there is no need to have a tender for it. Then we can actually sell that particular or dispose of that particular asset using an auction, and where the cost of conducting the auction can be justified by the number of items. Remember, through a tender, we are saying that it's not just the asset that we are disposing of, but then there are several components as well which we are also disposing of them. So there is the need for a tender. Here too, we need to justify the number of items that we are disposing through the auction. The last method of disposal here is by destruction, dumping, or burying. So where the asset is cannot be used again, is damaged to the extent that there is nothing can be gotten out of it, then there is a need to dispose it through dumping, destruction, or burying. So the asset has no residual value. The asset cannot be converted into any other form which subsequently gives its value, or approval has been obtained from the appropriate environmental agency to dumping such asset. Then we dispose of that asset by dumping, destroying, or burying it. Right. So the next part of this session is the public stores management. We are saying it is the management of the activities of public procurement entities that are related to the entity's inventory. So managing the inventories of the public procurement entity is what we term as public stores management. Right. So it is important because it helps avoid shortage of inventory and its associated cost. It also helps to avoid overstocking and its associated cost. It offers protection for the items brought into stores, and it ensures economy in the acquisition and management of inventory, and it ensures that the right process are followed in the procurement of public assets. Right. So this brings us to the end of this session. So we've looked at the various methods of disposing of public assets, and also the management of public stores and its importance. So this brings us to the end of this model as well. So if there is anything that we may need clarity or we lack understanding of, we may refer to the study manual for more explanation or more understanding, in which we may also revise the slides from time to time.